this is some truly impressive bedhead I've got going on here. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and I am really excited to revisit one of the decks that I got to mess around with a little bit in early access. This was a brew by Balanced Lotus that we called Beanfinity. It is an Up the Beanstalk Affinity deck list that takes advantage of the fact that many of these cards with Affinity have a very high converted mana cost on paper, including the brand new Frogmere Enforcer, which is a mirror enforcer on the surface that can instead be cast for its prototype cost as a 2/2. While it's not quite like Frogmite in that it will be free, as you always do require that red mana, the flexibility can allow it to trigger some things that it normally might not trigger, namely Kozilek's Unsealing, which can make us some mana or give us an Ancestral every time that we play one of these cards in this column over here, or Ugin's Binding, which is a slightly overcosted bounce spell the first time around, and a Cyclonic Rift the second time around when you cast one of these larger spells. I have made some noticeable changes to the deck list since the first time that I played it. All this stuff is the same, but the first version of the deck had Glimmervoid, and while the downside of this card didn't come up in the match or two that I played with this deck, I think this is a very real concern where I get like wastelanded or meltdowned, and my situation goes from like bad to just absolutely unwinnable. So I'm going to try Spire of Industry in that slot instead. And I have targeted the sideboard 100% at unfair matchups. There's a lot of Oops All spells and Necrodominance running around in the leagues right now. And essentially in game one, I feel like I am a fair deck killer. Like, the amount of value that I can get in fair matchups with like Up the Beanstalk and especially Simulacrum Synthesizer is absolutely massive. And I'm going to imagine that I win a large percentage of my game one matchups versus fair decks. And then we have to win one of the two games once they start bringing in their null rods and meltdowns and stuff like that. So we are going to probably overly respect combo with the sideboard, just kind of given where things are at right now. I haven't been seeing a lot of Nadu in the leagues, but again, other fast combo decks are very, very common right now, and I want to be ready for them. Since we are playing a very large number of affinity cards, we are kind of going deep on things like the artifact lands deeper than you might normally do in a deck that looks like this. If you take a close look at the mana base, there's only one copy of Ancient Tomb. There's only 2 copies of Urza's Saga. This is a pretty different configuration from what you might be used to. We have a few more artifacts than normal. The Ornithopters don't look great on the surface, but they are really important for turning on Mox Opals and getting these cards into the castable range. Those could just as easily be something like Baubles, but we don't have Emery to recur them, and Baubles get sacrificed, right? And that's not something we want to do. We want our artifact count to be extremely high within this deck. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the matches. I had so very much fun playing the Affinity Mirror in early access, and I'm looking forward to jamming some other matches here. Should you find you need some cards, check out toamagic.com and use promo code ThrabenU when you do to save 5% on your order. I placed an order last night for a bunch of things to upgrade the, Revenant Recon Blue-Black Mirko Precon, and I know the shipping's going to be fast, so I'm hoping it's going to be here by the weekend so that I can jam them on a guest appearance I'm going to do. With that being said, let's go make some robots, huh? This hand feels awkward. Ugin's Binding is like an early tempo play. I can increase my artifact count by about 3 early, meaning that this still costs 4. I technically have access to blue mana. It's a little awkward if Ornithopter ends up going away. I think I can just do better than this. Yeah. Yeah, this is fine. I don't have access to red, so I'm not playing this early. I think I'm just going to go ahead and bottom this one and hope that the beans do bean stuff. Beans be beaning? Something like that. On its random draw step stop, I wonder if we're playing against miracles. Blue fetch land. Blue white. My opponent has a miracle in their fucking hand. Okay, good to know. Lotus petal, you say? This is a very good force of will target for my opponent. Or force of... Found the miracle. Found the miracle, YouTube. Yeah, you got it. The next turn I'll have 3 artifacts. This costs 4 mana. So I could cast it next turn. Another one, or do you just have a draw step stop set every turn because you are playing miracles? Sure. There's a fetch to shuffle for that ponder. I think I play this prior to making my land drop. I'm not expecting days over there. Oh, it's another force effect. Sure. So, bam. Bam. I think I'm just going to Thoughtcast immediately now. Oh, that's not bad. I'd like a little bit more colored mana, but like I've clearly got stuff to do for the next few turns. I'm hoping that I now just kind of bury my opponent in card advantage. They've used 2 pitch effects, which is not really the best thing in the world for them. So let's do this. Bump up my artifact count some more. How much do you cost? You cost 3. I might be able to play both of these this turn. Oh, hell yeah. Let's just play this out. Beans. All right, we got one in play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this costs 2. I can't play it this turn. But this Thought Monitor has Ancestral Recall attached to it now. Unless I just eat a Prismatic Ending or something on this up the Beanstalk immediately. There's a Brainstorm. So we're seeing 2 main deck Force of Negations here. That may be an indication that my opponent is teched out for things like Oops and Necrodominance. Just kind of something to keep in mind. Like, we saw 2 very early. That might be an indication that there are more than 2 within the confines of the deck list itself. Okay, there is the Prismatic Ending. This has already cantripped, so like we are pulling further and further ahead in terms of resources, even if we don't get the draw 3 off it. This is effectively free. Here is my 1 mana Thought Monitor, and the draw that is attached to it is beautiful. You also free at this point? Yeah. Oh, you are. This is Ward. Ward's incredibly good. Yeah, so we are going to Lava Spur Boots, give this haste and ward, put it outside of range of Swords to Plowshares, and then I control 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is just going to be whack my opponent for 12. This is why I am not boarded for, like, why I don't have sideboard cards for fair matchups. So looking at the sideboard here, I'm not interested in this stuff. I might Veil of Summer, though. It seems like stopping my opponent's counterspells is a reasonable thing to do. The Cyclonic Rift is maybe not the best here. I like the Kozilek's Unsealing perfectly fine. What do I do if my opponent makes a 5/5 lifelinker? Just make something bigger, idiot, is probably the answer. Do I just want to keep this overcosted removal spell, though, because like I just have like 0? Also a way to bounce something like a Null Rod out of play temporarily. Yeah, okay. No sideboard. Yeah, I have multiple draw 2 effects in my hand. That's perfectly fine and kind of what I am looking for here. I can just put 3 artifacts into play on turn 1, meaning I can Thoughtcast as early as turn 1. Bam. 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 Could make it cost 1 mana next turn by playing Cranial Plating right now. I think I just want to play a draw 2 immediately, though. I could give up a Mox Opal to Thoughtcast again immediately. I think that mana is probably better served on a future turn, though. Oh, there is red in here. We didn't see any of that last game. That's too good. All right. So, Land. Mox Opal. Play Robot Machine. Robot Machine gets answered. Ooh, opponent has actual factual Brain Surge. All right, you've got it. Oh no. I'll just draw 2 afterwards. Yeah. This is perfectly fine. My opponent is down to 3 cards. Like, I've got 5 cards with another draw 2 coming in the next turn cycle or 2. It feels like if my opponent does not hit some sort of, like, Meltdown, Stony Silence, Null Rod level of hate card, that they just cannot keep up with what I am doing. This is the start. Now they, like, get an extra card each turn cycle. I hopefully will just out-aggro them, though. If I do this, this costs 3 mana. I suppose that's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is just 1 too much mana right now. So I will be passing the turn. We really wanted to make 2 creatures this turn to make it easier to contest the Monarch. Sure. No, I will absolutely let you hit me. I would like to have the Thought Monitor on my own turn. Take your extra card. So am I going to lose Thought Monitor for Affinity count? I am. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tapped or untapped land. Also, this produces red. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 5, meaning that these cost 2 each. So I am probably playing 2 cards. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bam, bam. Untapped land. I guess that's assuming that things work out. Nice. I do probably just want to put another creature into play this turn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 7. I think I will cast one of these right now to go and threaten taking the Monarch, and then wait on Kozilek's unsealing for the Frogmere Enforcers. It's just a 10-2. Good God. It is an impressive body, that's for damn sure. Okay, Prismatic Ending snipes my equipment. Another land drop opponent has 2 cards left in hand, soon to be 3. And I am trying to threaten the Monarch here. There's a couple different ways to play this turn. I think I'm going to go ahead and attack in, try to take the Monarch, and then do my thing. If my opponent taps some mana, it potentially takes them off of hardcast Force of Negation on this, which seems like a pretty big deal. So, let's Kozilek's Unsealing. Oh, hell yeah, it is in play. So, I would like to Ancestral, please. Yeah. Those are some bad draws, but we were about to just draw 3 more cards. That would have been a Beanstalk, a Mox Opal, a Seed. Top of the library was not looking great, but this feels insurmountable, especially when I'm also the Monarch.
Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, which is just the best place to host your online deck lists, and I don't think it's close. I think it's wonderfully organized, and you can have a great system of folders so that you can go through, separate your decks by whatever you want. I separate mine by format. I have just a few legacy decks, and Moxfield is able to keep track of all the decks that even someone like me makes. So please consider checking them out.
Okay, what does this opening hand do? Tree, Mox Opal, Lotus Petal, up the Beanstalk on turn 1? Seems perfectly fine. If memory serves, this opponent plays Doomsday, and we probably just lose game 1. Thoughtseize takes up the Beanstalk and makes my hand much worse. I don't know, maybe I can just murder my opponent with Urza Saga Construct tokens by playing Urza Saga out on turn 1. I'm not sure which of these 2 my opponent is going to take. If they take up the Beanstalk, I can just play Urza Saga, Mox Opal, Lotus Petal, Artifact Land, and be making Urza Saga tokens immediately. So it's possible that I just lose the Mox Opal for tempo-based reasons here. Oh. Well, that one wasn't on my radar. So, yeah. Which way am I doing this? I think I'm here to just make Artifact Construct tokens. I think I just want to set up to be able to Lava Spur Boots attack with both construct tokens on the same turn. That feels like the most impactful thing that I can be doing in the face of opposing combo. It was a fast shuffle. I do have land. Vexing Bauble. Vexing Bauble protecting presumably Doomsday is pretty hot. If I play an untapped land, 1, 2, 3, this will be 4. Is it worth it to give up Lotus Petal to Thoughtcast? Probably not. This Lotus Petal being on board just represents 2 points of damage. Vexing Bauble when my opponent is on the play is like definitely a thing. Yeah. I mean, we're going to be bringing in this. We can use that to attack Vexing Baubles as well. There's the fetch to clear. Okay, cool. Cards that aren't Dark Ritual, like big thumbs up right now. Okay, seems like we have weathered the storm for this turn. Okay, cool. So we're bigger. These are 4/4s. These are 5/5s. These are 6/6s. Ornithopter would be countered by Vexing Bauble. These are 7/7s. Equipped to the one that does not have haste. 15 damage from one Urza Saga token on turn 3. We successfully raced Doomsday. Legitimately not cracking Lotus Petal probably won me that game. Alright. This many counterspells in, so I need to board 8 things out. Ugin's Binding doesn't do a lot. Kozilek's Unsealing is slow. Shadow Spear is unnecessary. From here, the assorted cards are real. I could do something like board out some Ornithopters just in respect of Vexing Bauble on the play, turning them into dead cards. I think that's reasonable. Perennial Plating is probably unnecessary. It is a good way to get some surprise damage, though. Like my opponent, when they have to do a Doomsday past the turn pile, like a Cranial Plating coming down can just steal a game. I think I'm going to keep that and cut to Sojourner's Companions. Under a Vexing Bauble, this can still be cast as a 2/2, and this is frequently free. Not always free, but frequently free. I guess I could use Veil of Summer as a way to push 0-drop things through. Or push counterspells through Vexing Bauble. Yeah, okay. Yes. We're not doing the best in terms of aggression here, but holy shit, they're mulliganing to 4. But I very much have counterspells to stop from losing and redraws. So assuming I draw like any land or any castable artifact, like this is just perfectly fine. Your Ponder is fine. Hey, artifacts are what I'm looking for. Your cantrips are fine. I am not fighting over those. And then they can surveil one of the cards from their brainstorm that they did not want into their graveyard, which they do. A Mox Opal. Oh, that seems fine. We'll go Yaw and Yaw. I could just hold up Hardcast Force of Negation, but I do think I should probably like continue to draw cards when I can. I would like to find something like an Up the Beanstalk or an Urza Saga that gives me an active, strong thing to be doing within the context of this game. There is a Thoughtseize. I am not going to counter that Thoughtseize. You may take one of the cards from my hand. I've lost the Thought Monitor. I feel like the Thought Cast is better than the Thought Monitor right now. I'm going to make the land drop to make Thought Cast cost 1. Up the Beanstalk. Yeah, I'll go ahead and play that. So I can Thought Cast and draw 3 cards immediately. But if I do so, it's possible that that I don't hit a blue card in those 3 cards and then I only have 1 counterspell up instead of 2. I think that would be fine because Up the Beanstalk would also make my stuff cantrip. Yeah, but when our opponent is just trading 1-for-1 resources with us with stuff like Thoughtseize, we are going to bury that. GG's. Bill from the future here. As a heads up, I think my opponent from this round was a new player. They make a lot of questionable decisions, so just kind of know that going into the round. Okay, we're on the play here. My hand is a little clunky. I don't have as many initial artifacts as I might like. I can artifact land cycle if that is a thing that becomes relevant. I am hoping that I can just like up the Beanstalk to buy some time. Play a Chalice on 1. Chalice on 1 for me, baby. Aha. Ooh. Not really looking for more Thoughtcast right now. So I think when you see an artifact land on the other side of the battlefield, like that should really clue you in that you are supposed to put your Chalice on 0 and that this is an artifact-based matchup. So I think this is a really big misplay from my opponent. Like right now, Mox Opals and such are absolutely huge for me. Especially if my opponent is a red deck and can just follow up with a Blood Moon style card. That is a Goblin Ravelmaster. That is resolving. That is, in theory, not that big of a problem, assuming I can actually get some stuff into play, but I have literally 1 artifact right now, so, you know. Say Levy. Urza's Saga. I have a game 1 Shadow Spear? I do. I only control 1 artifact, so this costs 4 mana. Yeah, I think I'm going Urza's Saga. It does put me into the awkward situation where I get worse against Blood Moon than I already was. City's fine. Oh, God. That's real bad. I don't know if I can race anymore. Especially since my Urza Saga token is not going to be particularly large. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, this is just half my life total. I am at 10. My opponent should throw this Chalice of the Void, which isn't doing anything at my face. Nope. So we're going to go ahead and artifact cycle. Pick up a seat. I absolutely don't get to tap that for life, unfortunately. So I can make my construct. It's a 3/3. I will control 1, 2, 3 artifacts. The 3/3 maybe just gets something thrown at it with broadside, like my opponent plays out some other thing, throws it at the 3/3. Then I am basically dead. I could try to have the world's craziest Thoughtcast. I think I am just going to pass the turn and hope that I'm not dead. Oh, that's some shit. So my opponent now has protection from everything, which means that I can't crack back to immediately gain life. My opponent can throw that at my face for 6, and even if I block, I am very dead. Yeah, that's a shame. We just had a little bit too much clunk here. Probably don't need Kozilek's Unsealing here. Brainial Plating feels kind of slow. My blue count's not the best for Force of Will, but I might just need Force of Will. Like do something like bam, bam, bam. Just have the option to Force of Will. I don't think I also want Force of Negations, but I maybe want to be able to counter 1 spell over the course of a game. Fuck. Alright, well. Don't Blood Moon me, I guess. I think I'm getting rid of Darksteel Citadel to keep all my colors. Alright. We are all in on Urza's Saga. Got a land drop, and now they're thinking. There goes a Fury. Yes. We absolutely do that again. You are allowed. That's an awkward draw here, because I'm kind of committed to this whole Urza Saga thing. What are we going to see come down here? Fuck, it is Blood Moon. So I will make my very small token. The colored mana situation is now bad unless I draw a Mox Opal or Lotus Petal. Sure. Get the tapped land out. I guess it's not a tapped land anymore, huh? 2. Well, opponent came back in the heat. I guess I don't really want to artifact land cycle, huh? Alright. That shuts off your Chrome Mox, so you should have used your Chrome Mox mana to cast the Mill Rod, but who am I to judge? What you're doing is clearly working. Force of Will is legitimately quite good here. Hit for 3. 15. I will laugh if I just kill my opponent with a single Urza Saga Construct token. That's a good card. I think I just Force of Will that. Like, there are better targets for this Force of Will. Alright, so let's see. I now control 3 artifacts. I'll soon control 4 artifacts, so I can just cast this as a beater. Oh, wait. Right, these aren't lands. Not real lands. Null Rod. I can't cycle anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need 3 more artifacts for that to do its thing. Alright, hit for 4. The next artifact is kind of a big deal, as the next artifact allows me to live through a Fury trigger. There's a land drop. Yes, may absolutely do that. That also has minimal impact on the matchup. Whereas one of these on 0, for example, stops that from hitting play, and then I would have 1 less damage, 1 less artifact count. Boop. Like, how am I going to cast the Up the Beanstalk that this is stopping anyway? Rabblemaster's totally fine. Like, my opponent basically has to chump block with that. And they have to chump block with it if I draw any artifact or any land that actually makes functional mana. I do not. So they could take the hit here. You just cast too much. 5, yep. Alright, opponent is going to take it and go to 1. Now, these goblins do have to attack each turn if able. So if my opponent chump blocked with Goblin Rabblemaster this turn, they could leave this back as a chump blocker for the following turn and buy some time. It's possible they feel their situation is so bad that they have to, like, take a risk, though, and keep it alive. Sure. I don't have it, but a card like Dismember is super punishing towards a line like this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool. So I can now cast this for 1 mana pre-combat, just increase the size of this. Go to punchies. Hit in for 7. The Rabblemaster chump block happens. And I have 2 lethal threats. There's another land. This could go into a Fury. This is what we call a combo. Strong synergy. So this is counterable via this Chalice. No need to attack right now. I'll just hold back my blockers, just wait out this trigger, and start swinging as of next turn. Yep. I think my opponent's decisions were incredibly costly to them. I think they could have pretty easily won this game. So if this first Chalice that comes down is on 0, I never get Ornithopter and Lotus Petal, meaning my opponent takes less damage with this. This is in range of some red removal spells. I don't get this creature into play. My opponent maybe has a little bit more time to keep Rabblemaster alive, make some more Goblin tokens. So yeah. Do I want Force of Negation when I am on the draw? Blood Moons are pretty good against me. I only have 2 Urza Sagas. That's not the worst, but like I am a 0 basic land deck. So if my opponent moons, it's like my Mox Opals and Lotus Petals that let me get Simulacrum Synthesizer and Up the Beanstalk into play. I think on the draw specifically, I am interested in extra counter spells. And Up the Beanstalk or a Simulacrum Synthesizer, especially Simulacrum Synthesizer, should in theory bury my opponent. What a terrible hand. This really needs runner to be good. I don't think this is safe enough to keep. That's unfortunate. Oh my god. I'm going to lose to this player. Not keepable. I will keep this 4. You go away. You go away. You go away. I just have to hope the top of the deck treats me well. Alright, cool. That's not great. It's something that I can pitch to Force of Will so that I can keep Thoughtcast. Sure. No Chalice on 1. That is fantastic. I need to hit another mana source to make it happen. But that is exactly what I want to see. Gemstone Cavern into Blood Moon. I unfortunately need my blue mana to get the Simulacrum Synthesizer into play. So I do have to counter that. I don't know why my opponent kept this hand. I don't think that was a viable keep on their end. Like, it's possible that I just kind of brick off here, and my opponent just wins because I mulligan to 4, but the London Mulligan is one of the best things that exists in Magic the Gathering. Please, please, please take advantage of it. There's 4th land. Yeah, why the fuck did you keep this hand? The best thing you could do is turn 3 Blood Moon. I should be close to dead. Yep. So, bam, bam, bam. Simulacrum Synthesizer. This will be my 4th artifact, notably. Not interested in Force of Will. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go ahead and put that on top. Draw 2 with Thoughtcast. I can't play this turn. I get it next turn. And notably, this one does not care about Blood Moon if my opponent top decks one of those. Sure. Fable's fine. I am at 18. So 1, 2, 3, 4 artifacts, meaning that this costs 3. That's fine. So let's Urza's Saga. Just straight up cast this as a creature. And then make an Urza Saga Construct token. I put 10 power onto the board. And I have another 2 Urza Saga Construct tokens coming into haste as well. Yeah, sure, that's fine. I wonder if in my opponent's position they need to hyper-aggressively loot for Null Rod. They just discarded Brotherhood's End? Am I on crazy pills? Okay, sure. So I am going to be able to make a 5/5 Urza Saga Construct token that can beat this Fury in combat. And then any big thing that I draw is just absolutely insane. Not to mention that I have lifelink coming from Urza Saga. And my constructs are going to be outside of range of Fury copy. Alright, so Den of the Bugbear is firing up. Okay, opponent choosing not to attack with their Fury. I'll make a big creature. Doesn't have menace or anything, right? Yeah, that is just a regular old body. I'll block and take that one out. I don't have to worry about a Fury being cast post-combat. I'll take some damage. This is going to be a good turn, I think. I think I am just going for a Shadow Spear without thinking too much about it. Are you 1 mana? You are 1 mana. Fantastic. So let's attempt to draw 2 cards, assuming no Pyroblast. Nice. So I make yet another construct. Draw more cards. Here's another Thoughtcast. Force of Negation. I could hold that up. Just thinking about if the last card is dead gone specifically. I think I'm just going to do this though. If I play out Ancient Tomb, I can lose 2 life to re-equip Shadow Spear. Be slightly better against dead gone specifically. Alright, opponent is at 5. I am at 22. Just like, imagine if my opponent cast this card. Goodbye. Also that one. I think my opponent tunnel visioned in on Fury, copy Fury being a thing that would be good. Yeah, sure. Darksteel Citadel grows the squad. I could do a lot of math here. I don't think I'm going to. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to. I'm just going to send them. So, like, my opponent can copy Fury. Fury nukes this, saves the 2 in the air. My opponent can throw bodies in front of these constructs. This has trample. It has trample. I will pass priority. Sure. Okay. Unfortunately, that is not how removing a blocker against trample works. Alright, we have a slightly slow but very powerful hand versus a fair deck. Yep. So this is, what, maybe going to be some sort of 60-card D&T or D&T adjacent deck list. Let's avoid Wasteland in the first turn cycle by playing Darksteel Citadel. What was the scariest thing? Stoneforge for Cauldra, probably? Are we more in the, like, white, stompy, ancient tomb ballpark? Yeah, Recruiter's fine. Well, we avoided Wasteland, but we also avoided this while that was happening. Witch Enchanter. That's fine. So let's give my opponent a target that I don't super care about. Let's give them up the Beanstalk as a target. This is a distraction. I do not give a shit about this card. Do I put the Ornithopter into play? I'll put the Ornithopter into play. There's a small chance that it could end up attacking next turn, but I think that is quite small. So why does my opponent want to be playing a 60 card version of this versus a Yorion version? This is the answer. Yeah, I can Ornithopter Cranial Plating and contest the initiative. Need a little more mana. I don't have a basic to fetch, so my incentive to take the initiative is not like the highest. This not being Frogmite is a big deal this turn. So I think I'm going to contest the initiative so my opponent does not forge. This is going to do a secondary thing here of potentially baiting out a Solitude or potentially making Witch Enchanter hit a wrong target, air quotes. We baited out the Solitude, fuck yeah. Nice. I'm going to take a lot of damage. And the question becomes, like, can I just overpower this damage that I am taking with Simulacrum Synthesizer? Normally, I would feel like the answer is no, but with Shadow Spear here, one good combat step for me can be gaining an absolutely disgusting amount of life. I'm taking 6-ish points of damage, with the ish being dependent on what happens with the Seasoned Dungeoneer trigger. Chancellor of the Annex. That's a spicy one. Opponent does not want to keep it. Weird, right? So I am taking 7 plus 5 currently. I'll see what my opponent does with this Witch Enchanter. I think it's Tree of Tails. They agree. Yeah, this not being Frogmite here is very costly. So 6, 7, 8, 9 plus 5, I am dead. Unless I produce a body. I can pay 1 life, go to 12, produce Frogmite Enforcer. Take 6 plus 5, which puts me to 1, and then one of these two still gets through anyway. Okay. Unfortunate. I could sideboard Force of Will. Unsure if I want to. I think I'm just going to whack the submit button. This is probably okay. Can't put this into play on turn 1. I don't have red for it immediately, so let's get a tapped land out of the way. And I'm going to play this out just in case something like a Thalia ends up happening immediately. It's just plains pass. That's fine. This is 3 artifacts. Metalcraft is on. 4 artifacts with cranial plating and play this costs much still. So let's cast this with Prototype. Like so. Oh god. And we'll put the cranial plating into play. We are threatening a very good amount of early damage if my opponent doesn't have a swords or a blocker or whatever. I don't have a source of card advantage currently, you know, no beans, no thought cast, no thought monitor. I'll need something like that. Wasteland's good for my opponent. Oh, nope. What is that? Restoration of a Ganjo. Sure. Yeah, let's take a look. No basics. So, bam. The first strike is annoying here. Bam. Cast. For 1 mana. Cast. For free. And then we'll equip to one of these. Next turn, I have 16 damage that currently is allowed to swing in. Could be less, like my opponent could Wasteland me, take me off Tree of Tails. Restoration of a Ganjo is an interesting one. Don't love that as a draw. That's not what I'm looking for. What does my opponent have? Belia, Restoration Angel. Regardless, I think we're just going to punchies and seeing what happens. Wandering Emperor is the answer. Yeah, absolutely. Sure. My opponent will declare no blockers. And then I think we do this. Costs me the Lotus Petal, but this is a bunch of extra damage. I don't think I get to pass on that much damage. Play out an Ancient Tomb and pass. I guess technically I should move the Cranial Plating, but I already clicked through it. I don't know, maybe I just need it there. It's possible my mana gets set back by 2 in this turn cycle. Yeah. So, do I take 2 to have greater flexibility with these draws? I think no. That costs 1. Trigger this. Darksteel Citadel's kind of whatever. Kozilek's Unsealing. Yeah. In case my opponent gets saucy and wastelands me in combat, I am going to go ahead and just cast this enchantment right now at the cost of some life. And now the big stuff that I rip off the top is incredibly powerful. This is damn near lethal. I think I attack the Planeswalker, though. I am expecting Solitude here, so, like, I don't think where I attack actually matters. I think it is the illusion of choice. Yep. I gain 11 life. And I don't think this game dragging on is good for my opponent. Like, this Walker is fine and good, but Cranial Plating plus Flyer is a problem if this ever gets removed. Sure. And Cranial Plating instant speed equip is probably pretty close to death in the not too distant future. More land from my opponent. Okay, they're going for the initiative. Am I getting wastelanded? I am. Ancient Tomb or Spire of Industry for the next one? Ancient Tomb, sure. So this game is just fully like, do I draw a live card off the top? If I do. Good God. I did not. I make a land drop. To set up for the future, I think this goes here. And I'll pass the turn. I can move it around at instant speed if I need to. I don't think it makes sense to as of right now. So opponent could forge up Solitude to gain more life. Doesn't look like they're interested in that. Don't know like what degree of anti-artifact stuff they have in their deck. Like I don't know if they are packing any null rods or what is it? Like there's, I think it's Wrath of the Skies ? Is the energy card that can blow up artifacts and I think creatures. All right, they kept one of their cards. Another land. Probably not what they want. Yeah, sure. White Orchid Phantom, which they do not want as of right now. I think it's an okay Magic card in this specific spot. It's not the most exciting thing in the world. Like, there is just such a looming threat of this game going out of control. Oh, they just have another, sure. Yeah, I don't, like, super need the lands. I appreciate them being there, but my artifact count is already pretty high. Restoration of Aganjo. This is a sweet way to return White Orchid Phantom. I like what's cooking over here. There is, unfortunately for my opponent, a Thought Monitor. So, we are popping off. So draw 3, draw 1, draw 2. Good turn. I do not currently have a way to instant speed Cranial Plating equip and just outright kill my opponent. But we might find one. So, let's draw some more cards, shall we? This is, quite frankly, silly. More Mox Opal is actively good. I'm going to get some stuff out of my hand here. So these are now free. And do this. I wonder if my opponent is just going to fucking die this turn. There's a Simulacrum Synthesizer. Let's just put that in play. So, land, new Mox Opal, keep this one, 3 mana, like so. Scry 2. I don't need either of those. We'll bottom both of those. Cast a Sojourner's Companion. Draw 4 cards. Yeah. Yeah. Make a Construct token. At this point, I've played my land drop. I guess it's a good thing my opponent destroyed 1, 2, 3, 4 of my lands. Otherwise, I would just continue to chain these. So my attacks aren't good. I'll pass the turn. And the next turn, I probably just kill my opponent. Get rid of a Spire, get rid of a Citadel, get rid of a Citadel, get rid of a Tree of Tails. Assume that's too much mana. I still have to discard more cards. Beans are just incredibly mana inefficient here. I don't think I need a second Cranial Plating. Oh, I ended up keeping one more Tree of Tails than I thought I kept there. Whoops. Alright, so my opponent can return a White Orchid Phantom. Blow up my seat. Yep. Alright, opponent's still attacking. Probably fine. There's another Seasoned Dungeoneer. That's a good card. So any creature getting through with Cranial Plating just kills my opponent outright, assuming no tricks. Any construct token is also just lethal. A Witch Enchanter. That needs to nuke my Cranial Plating, I think. It did. I said I didn't need another one of those last turn, but I would rather have the Cranial Plating than this Tree of Tails. I think I will probably be fine. Let's go. Bam. Bam. Continue to make large creatures. Scry 2. Bottom that. That is a 7/7 is perfectly fine. So I will Thoughtcast. Draw 3. Play Lotus Petal. Oh, I can just do the free portion of this. Don't need to prototype it at this stage of the game. Do this whole thing. Yep. Make Construct Friends. Cast some Ornithopters, just get them out of my hand. So let's cast this. I'm going to cast one more of these. I do need to start watching the physical number of cards in my deck. I'm not too, I'm worried about decking myself yet. Oh, that's incredible. That's probably my kill next turn. Yeah. So the 2 Lotus Petal mana gets me Lava Spur Boots. Am I fine with one more draw 4? I think I am fine with one more draw 4. Alright, cool. Bam. Bam. So now we will Boots. Whip Boots to some random construct token to just have another giant creature that can attack in. My opponent has 1, 2 flying blockers. So attacking with 3 flyers guarantees that I take the initiative. Yeah, attack you, attack you, attack you, attack you, attack you. Am I fine with sending in the 4/4s? How big is this? 4/4 first strike, 3/3 first strike. Oh yeah, attack you, attack you. I have enough extra bodies back. You know what? Attack you. Math is for blockers. You figure it out. Okay. This overall seems fine for me. Okay, opponent opting to trade there instead. 6 incoming damage, plus a handful of lost bodies. Alright, I take the initiative. No basic lands left in my deck. I've already played a land, so I will pass the turn. We will discard Thoughtcasts. We are past those being actively good cards. Get rid of you. Get rid of you. Get rid of you. Fantastic. Whenever it attacks or blocks, make a spirit. That's fine. My opponent can exile one of my 7 construct tokens. Yeah, okay. I called correctly. Felia is in the deck. Felia blinking initiative creatures is sweet. So my opponent is going to have 5 or 6 blockers. So any construct is lethal. Oh, they're just making a blocker rather than exiling a 24 power creature. Seems weird. Alright, yeah, you can Throne of the Dead 3. Unsure if you have something that's going to be good enough to help here. What's an Aven Interrupter? Cataclysm in the deck? Oh, I see. It's this one. Sure. Cataclysm would have been very good. That would have been a draw that potentially could have beaten me. As it stands now, without doing any math, I don't think anything just beats Shadow Spear, equip, attack out. There is a Solitude. If I selected the one with the ward, that's fine. Okay. So, there's Lotus Petal. There's Shadow Spear. Play Urza Saga. Whip Shadow Spear to any random Construct token. Doesn't draw me cards, right? Yeah, this does not draw me cards. So 1, 2, 3. Triggers. Let's scry our 6 remaining cards. Let's send them both to the bottom, shall we? Thank you. I'll keep the Ornithopters back. I don't think I am in any danger of dying from 38. And again, without mathing, I don't think my opponent survives the 28-28. Now I have to do this again. Deck's perfect, no changes. I don't think this hand has enough mana to be viable, despite having some very good tools at its disposal. This hand is very actively good. I think I will just throw back a Lotus Petal here. This hand is not going turbo. I think I'm most afraid of my opponent going under me with Chrome Mox with a hand that looks like this one. I don't plan on trying to do the Urza's Saga thing. Alright, so my opponent can just blow up their own flagstones and ramp. Anyway, I don't think I plan on trying to go the Urza Saga construct route with Urza Saga itself. I think I just want to stay on indestructible lands for the beginning of this game. And try to eventually bury my opponent in cards. That's a fine draw. It's not good yet. It probably will be good later. Sure. So now I want to start drawing things that trigger Simulacrum Synthesizer and or up the Beanstalk. Witch Enchanter on Beanstalk is fine. Like, I've already gotten my value off of that card. I'll take a couple damage here. That's no big deal. New up the Beanstalk is perfectly fine, but I think I want to stay mana efficient here. Love to see another Simulacrum Synthesizer on top. Beautiful. Bottom that. Top that. I don't think either one of us are in danger in terms of clock, but the game can get rather complicated, so I will want to keep things moving. Take 4. Go to 14. I guess I should do this like this. That way the construct that I make is larger for if my opponent has Swords to Plowshares. I'm going to say no to both of those. Don't have the extra mana to equip here. And no immediate Swords to Plowshares. My opponent can discard their planes to put flagstones into play tapped. Restoration is a cool way to, like, uncounterably sneak in something like a White Orchid Phantom that is incredibly important to resolve. They could also just, like, discard some 2-drop that's in their hand and immediately return it. Alright, they are discarding a Restoration to get a Flagstones into play. Might just need the extra mana. It is Recruiter time. You have time to set up something like a Felia? That's what they're going for. With the idea being, like, Felia blinks some of this shit out of play before it goes wild. My opponent can still poke me in the air. This is gonna go wild. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it's very easily free. I can go ahead and up the Beanstalk first. Draw a card. Cast this. Draw a card. Make 2 robot friends. They are getting big. I want to keep 1 mana for Lava Spur Boots pretty much no matter what. All these lands off the top, not what I'm looking for. We'll hopefully survive though. I'll now give one of the big constructs haste. Send on in. One of these needs to be blocked or otherwise dealt with. I imagine the Recruiter of the Guard body is going. And then my opponent takes 11. Yep. Opponent's at 9, and then we're going to move the boots to an untapped copy. My hand is junk, but I just have, like, Urza Saga activate if I miss next turn. So hopefully this is fine. Felia does great work versus tokens. It can do some work versus this stuff, some work versus Urza Saga. And it's just a question of, like, is what my opponent doing either fast enough or powerful enough to keep up? Alright, so Felia is attacking. Blinking Witch Enchanter. Now I can go ahead and block and kill the Felia, or my opponent could Karakas it. I'm just going to double block it though, just in case. Okay, yep, they do Karakas it. Is this legendary? No, this is not legendary. Opponent's tapping a lot of mana for something. Hopefully it's not Cataclysm. It is Cataclysm. My opponent's got a Felia that's coming back. So I probably keep enchantment, land, artifact, Reacher, and hope that I can do some cool stuff with Simulacrum Synthesizer. It might be more likely that I win this game via timeout than I do via combat damage. See what my opponent values here. From my perspective, the Urza Saga is the best card, but I think from their perspective, when they can't see this garbage hand, that my Simulacrum Synthesizer looks like the best card. All right, so I have 1, 2 artifacts. This can be 3 artifacts, or activate can be 3 artifacts. I think I am just having a subpar turn here. How saucy are we getting in combat? Only the flyer. I will take that. I have Shadow Spear coming as a way to potentially stabilize my life total. So, bam. I think I am going to go ahead and continue to do this. Pick up Shadow Spear, Ancient Tomb, equip to give Trample to one of these. Assuming I gain the life, I'm sending in with both. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Okay, so my opponent makes their creature. They're going to take 7. I'm going to go up to 13. Yeah, you can play your Felia. Opponent's at 2. They've got 45 seconds on the clock with a decent number of triggers between like Felia and Witch Enchanter and stuff. They could directly blink out my token to keep Felia alive. I think they need to blink out Witch Enchanter to get rid of Shadow Spear, though. The trample is incredibly threatening right now. Like, I really don't know what their plan to deal with that is. I guess let's find out. That's a bunch of garbage. But let's... Bam. 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 Just grow for the trample. Send them on in. Oh, they've got 5 seconds left anyway. I see. So they can Solitude to take out this one and then chump block this. Yeah, if they played faster throughout the match, maybe they stabilize from here. Felia Witch Enchanter is very good. Can I still look at my top couple cards? No, I can't. I believe we're now playing for a trophy. I am on the fence about this hand. So it's turn 1 Simulacrum Synthesizer with 2 scries to find a way to get to the second one. I'm going to keep it, but just like recognizing that something like a Daze or Wasteland is going to be absolutely fucking incredible against my current hand. I think the ceiling on this hand is incredible, though. And if I hit any other land, I get to just start doing this stuff. Okay, we've got a Misty Rainforest. Jaw. Let's play this out for artifact count later. Don't daze me, please. It was not a daze, so my request was honored. Thank you, opponent. So a follow-up Wasteland would be back-breaking if we are playing against some sort of Delver or Scam style deck. Probably not the case with Tundra here. Could be Beans. Ooh, hold on. Let's talk about this. Yeah, that's where I thought this was going. So we are playing against Nadu combo. I'm going to get slowed down by a turn here as I artifact land cycle. That's going to get me this bridge. Things start looking fine for me next turn in terms of a fair match. But if my opponent just has like Shuko or something here and they can start doing the combo thing, this is pretty disgusting. Soul Guide Lantern is fine. I don't need stuff in my graveyard. So this is an indicator that Urza's Saga is in this build. Opponent just kind of fishing. Now Nadu is just going to slap me in the face for 3 damage still. Like, that is perfectly fine and good. And the 3 damage is very relevant when Ancient Tomb is my source of card advantage. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So, I guess Respect Days, play Lotus Petal. Is this one better? This is the one that kills my opponent, which is maybe what I need to do. Maybe I need to kill my opponent instead of drawing more cards. No to that one. I think no to this one. It's not particularly useful right now. I can still 1 mana Thoughtcast. Cool. So this one is too expensive right now. This still costs 3, but now I can Thoughtcast again. And next turn, I start doing cool stuff. We are still just living in the fear of combo. I'm not so much worried about my life total anymore. I don't think we are getting killed by Nadu through the various blockers that I'm going to have. Like, I'm probably comfortable just tapping Ancient Tomb next turn, to be completely honest. Okay, so there is the probably Cephalid Breakfast, Dread Return side of the deck in here as well, it looks like. Yeah, this is fine. The opponent's out of gas. I am not. Holy shit. Yeah, I believe I am fine. Taking 2. I have to do that the other way, though. Nope. Green mana. So there's Beans. Oh, I didn't actually count my artifacts here. I assume this is fine. Yeah, so the first one costs 2, the second one costs 1. It was fine. Let's Ancestral. Yeah. More Beans. Ancestral again. Love to draw a Mox Opal to Ancestral one more time this turn. I did not. We'll just do that. 3, 6, 7 here. And I have enough blockers for everything. Yep. So my opponent needs to combo me off. I don't think they can easily win fairly anymore. Well, that's 3 more looks at a combo piece or a cantrip to find one. That is a Nomad's Encore. So we are going to F6. My opponent can now execute Nadu combo. So my opponent is going to be able to draw, air quotes, draw a large number of cards here. Yeah, that's a Cephalid Illusionist. That's not great. The Cephalid Illusionist means that my opponent can mill themselves. So they're going to do this targeting the Narcomoeba first, rather than just going for the Illusionist directly. Surveil Narcomoeba is very cute. I guess I need to keep this zone popped open. I'm going to give you relevant updates. My opponent has now switched to targeting Cephalid Illusionist, and there is a Thassa's Oracle in graveyard. So I imagine my opponent will now repeatedly target Cephalid Illusionist, and it's been targeted twice, so the Nadu on it is going to stop triggering, and we're just going to get down to a Dread Return situation. All right, my opponent is now at 0 cards in library, so they are going to cast a Dread Return targeting Thassa's Oracle. A name you are already dead. I agree. So it looks like my opponent is more of a combo deck than not. Like, there's a couple swords, there's Teferi, there's Force of Will. But it does look like they intend on winning with combo. So how do I want to approach this? I probably board out some amount of the slower stuff. It does not look like I'm going to lose the fair game very often. These cheap and free things that I can just end up drawing with, like Beans and Thoughtcasts and Thought Monitors, seem quite good. I'd probably play Force of Will, but not Force of Negation. Assuming we have a slightly slower game, I can probably board out Ornithopter and one more of these. Okay, this hand, like, technically can interact via Grafdigger's Cage with the combo, but I'm not really doing much. I think I can do better than that. Darksteel Citadel, Lavas Perverts, Mox Opal. Mox Opal is on. I control 3 artifacts. On turn 2, I can cast Thoughtcast. I have multiple Thoughtcasts. Thoughtcast probably gets me a land. I think I have to keep this one. So, bam, 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 pass. Maybe I don't play out the Mox Opal out of fear of like a sideboard prismatic ending or something, but I didn't see him in game 1, so I'm not expecting to see them. All right, are we going to get Nomads? Are we going to get Ponder? Okay, there it is. Yeah, that's pretty punishing, especially given that I missed the land drop. Could outright just lose the match for that decision. That's an Illusionist with a Shuko coming in a couple of turns. Yikes. I am full dead to the combo if my opponent has it. That is a Teferi. So counter spells are now off. And my opponent just deterministically has the combo next turn. Seems like no trophy for me. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and concede. I can see the writing on the wall here. We end up with a very respectable 4-1 finish. So I believe my streak of never winning versus Nadu is continuing here. I know everyone is all hyped up about like Oops and Necropotence right now, but I think the Nadu decks are incredibly powerful. Just very resilient, give very good options to both combo decks and fair Bant decks. But this deck seemed pretty good. It's a little clunky, I think, but the core of what's here is incredibly powerful. I think if I were to play another league with this, I would be interested in turning Ugin's Binding into some other artifact that could be played on turn 1 or 2. I just want to reduce this stuff more consistently. And maybe Cranial Plating or Kozilek's Unsealing are expendable. Kozilek's Unsealing is incredibly powerful when it works. It doesn't always work, but when it does, like, whoa. So I think these 4 slots are what I would consider changing for more artifacts of some kind that can be played in the early game. Because I think the late game of this deck is incredible. And I just want more things to help me get out of the early game. I don't think it can be Vexing Bauble. I think that runs into too many problems with my own cards being free, either because they are 0 or because the affinity count gets reduced too much. It could be 4 Chalice of the Void. That's not crazy. But generally speaking, I loved this deck. This was very fun to play. I think the way that I built the sideboard to hedge extremely strongly versus combo decks was pretty good. Yeah, just 2 thumbs up for this one. This was good deck building. Super happy to play this one. You know, you can finagle with some of the numbers a little bit on things like Urza Saga and Ancient Tomb to get more value. But like the life loss is real for a slower deck, and the disappearing land that's not an artifact land is also very real. Maybe you play more Tanglepool Bridge. Especially if you get rid of Cranial Plating and you don't need the theoretical access to black. Like maybe play 2 more Tanglepool Bridge, keep like 1 of these. You want some extra ability to prototype Frogmere Enforcer, but you're generally speaking wanting to play this as the 7 mana version, generally speaking. Maybe your Mox Opals are enough. Maybe you run the last Mox Opal. It's possible there's some other 0-drop that makes more sense than Ornithopter. I don't know, like Ornithopter is still a chump blocker for things like Murktide Regent, and maybe Cranial Plating still belongs in the deck. Like Cranial Plating plus Shadow Spear is an insane amount of life gain that buries fair decks. It gives you a huge way to push. Yeah, let me know in the comments below if you have some thoughts, folks. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and should you need any magic cards, you know where to go. Use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order when you do. All right, see ya.